Welcome to Nick on the Mic. I'm your host, Nick, and with me is my co-host, Sergio Trades. How are we doing today, Gio?
Pretty good, Nick. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I mean, as we can see, it is a red day, and we did close at 49.34. But there's no sweat on my shoulders. Honestly, I'm patient. I know the end game of it. I mean, if you can elaborate more on it, I know you're not stressing at all.
No, not at all. We both know where exactly this is, where the end game is, and we've been talking about that for weeks. So it's from the information we got today, we just know it's going to take a little bit longer than we thought, but that's okay because we're not in any hurry, right?
Yeah, and like Gio said, we have a lot of important information that got posted today, as well as some of the FINRA data of the over leverage margin debt. It's absurd. I mean, we won't get into that right away, but I like to also notify the people that I'm sorry actually for the inconsistent video content on this YouTube page. We have been trying to update you on the hourly, honestly, at the probably like every 30 minutes, updates on our socials about from market open to close on AMC and GME. It's just ultimately we're just tired at the end of the day. We just don't feel we don't really need to post a video as where we're giving you on top of information by the hour on our Instagram. But as important information like we got today, we'll post more videos. We're going to stay consistent on it as it's been consolidating at that 50 price level. What we're going to be talking about in this video, we're going to talk about the share recount. We're talking about the outstanding shares that we got today. Talk about a little bit of Fintel data backing it up, the math behind it, the over leveraging in this market. It's just absolutely insane how much margin debt has been. It's absurd. Gio will talk about more about it, and then ultimately our expectations on this later of the week and going into next week. So let's get right into it. So the share recount we have on the screen. Okay, 501,780,240 shares outstanding, and that is reported today as of June 2nd. Then we can talk about what they also reported was the amount of shareholders. AMC had approximately 4.1 million shareholders as of June 2nd eligible to vote at the upcoming shareholder meeting. I mean, if we can just go straight into the math behind this, I know Trades has posted about it, a very reliable source, one of the bigger apes in this community, probably the biggest. He talks specifically about the 4.1 million individual retail shareholders. I want to emphasize on retail. And then the 500 million shares outstanding. If we start doing the math behind this, the average shares being held per investor is around 120 to 122. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. The data that we are getting today is just not accurate and it's not correct. It's possibly delayed. I don't know the reasoning behind it. Obviously, there's a lot of legal activity being around, but it's just not 120 shares per shareholder. I mean, if we talk about just institutions alone, and I hate to bring up Fintel because I know it is delayed information, but we can get into some of these big institutions that have a lot of shares in it. I mean, Vanguard, 6.5 million, Vanguard, 10 million, Vanguard, another 5 million, Vanguard, another 12 million. I mean, just alone, that's 33 million shares. I mean, other institutions, 170,000, 560,000. Another institution with 9 million shares. If you think the number is 120 per shareholder, I mean, it's absolutely crazy and it's just wrong. Just don't think that. And I mean, and the proof is right in front of your face. Gio, I mean, if you could possibly more elaborate on this, but they're not counting the institutions. They're not counting the insiders. They're not counting the shares on loan, and they're not counting these shorts and these synthetic shorts. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to give you some data that obviously doesn't factor in the synthetics out there. So what we know is you got 500 million total shares outstanding. We know 492 million of those are held by the retail investors. Then you got an additional 115 million that are held by the institutions that have shares in the company. Then you've got 100 million that are being currently shorted. That's real shares, not synthetics. And then you got 165 million that are held by insiders in the company. So if you do all the math, that amounts to just under 873 million shares, Nick. So that amounts to 174% of what should be existing for the shares outstanding. So we're talking 74% on top of what should be out there, not even factoring the synthetics that they also need to buy back. Wow. So the total outstanding could be well over the billions, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, more and more information is coming by the day, and as you've seen on the news and possibly Twitter and all the headlines, But the SEC is finally possibly monitoring this illegal activity. I don't know how much work is being done, but they have posted and they have publicized that 2 hedge funds have been charged, and I don't know if the charges are dropped or the charges are still continuous right now. But hopefully they are cracking down. And I know Matt Kors had the SEC attorney advocate for naked shorting for the SEC, and yeah, great talk. I mean, if you want to look into what just some of these big apes are doing in the community, and they're on national television publicizing this illegal activity. I mean, it's just getting known everywhere. I mean, my dad's talking about it. People that don't even trade before are talking about these naked shorts. Some people that don't even knew what a naked short was are knowing what these are just by socials and just by the media. You know, I mean, it's just more and more is spreading, and just ultimately the end game is, class action lawsuits, margin calls, these shares being covered, everything getting exploited, the market changing. I mean, we can get into the domino effects of what it is, but I mean, if we can talk about specifically on the what the market is going to get hit on this, and it's the over leverage. Specifically the shorts and the margin debt in the market is absolutely absurd. I mean, Gio, I want you to elaborate more on this. I have Trades post and the FINRA data right in front of me. If you can please elaborate this.
I'm taking data from Trey's. He tweeted this earlier today, and what his tweet says is that there's 847 billion currently in margin debt in the stock market right now, and 188 billion of that came in the last 6 months because of the over leveraging that the Federal Reserve and these banks have allowed. So for perspective, he says the dot-com bubble had 300 billion before the crash. And then the 08-09 financial crisis had 400 billion before the crash. So if you add those up, we're looking at the dot-com bubble, the 08 crash, and another 147 billion on top of that.
That's fucking crazy.
In 2021 right now, Nick.
That's absurd.
So the market's never been so over leveraged in all time, since its very existence. And what this basically means is a big crash is coming, and that's when you're going to see all these margin calls hit, phase 3 liquidations, like I've been talking about on my page. And you're going to see all these safe stocks these blue chips that I've been talking about, they are going to crumble like you've never seen before. And I'm talking 30 to 50% hits in a matter of weeks or months. And that's why you're seeing all these big CEOs selling off their shares, because they know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And as well, I mean, they're kind of like implementing this squeeze being done. I mean, I know people have moved some of their position and moved into some of these other heavily short squeeze signals, like specifically Clove today. I know you have participated, but this could be good and bad news. I mean, as more people get profits on Clove, hopefully they dump into AMC, but hopefully people are not pulling their investment from AMC and giving some of these hedge funds able to cover and return some of those shares. But, just overall expectations on the end of the week, because I don't want to make this video too long for the people, but, just my ideas on price level. I mean, as it's blatantly obvious, this $50 price level that it's consolidating at is, they don't want it above 50. They just obviously don't. They didn't want it last week, and they don't want it this week. Honestly, I think it's majority of the contracts that are in the money are at 40 and then 48, and then a lot of them are at 50 as well. I think 40 and 50 the majority. They don't want this because the amount of leverage that it will the amount of hedging that it will have to be done to buy back the amount of shares that are going to be buying to hedge that leverage is absolutely absurd. I mean, if we just talk about 150,000 contracts, it's looking like right now, I don't have the Stonko Tractor data right on the screen, but I think it's around 150,000 contracts. They're going to have to buy back 15 million shares. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, it's just, that's going to cause a huge gamma squeeze. So they do not want that $50 price level. That's what I'm thinking about this week, but going into next week, maybe we see that big gap up. I don't know. I mean, as Gio has talked to me off screen, he's talking to me about how some of these orders are not being filled and they're kind of being delayed. So I don't know the timing on aspects on that, and if we're seeing a true accurate price and what we should be seeing in next upcoming week. But if you want to just give a quick brief explanation on what you expect for this upcoming week and then ending this week.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you did mention the 48, the 50s, and then that big numbers of $40 calls that you have and I have as well.
Yep.
Well, they're going to do all they can to get AMC under $40, not just this Friday, but also the 18th, because that's the big expiration date. So you're going to see probably a continuation of what we saw today and tomorrow over the next couple of days. But again, we have that massive support at 4150, and then we also have the 200-day SMA that's creeping up as well. That should probably meet AMC's price action at some point next week. So obviously, we're going to look for a nice rebound, not only above that resistance, but also against that 200-day SMA. But yeah, and they're going to do all they can to get AMC under 40. But I don't think they have enough time to do it.
Yeah, and I can't reiterate this enough. We just have to be patient. Ultimately, we know the end game. Trust the process. I mean, I understand we had a big pullback this past week and a half, but I mean, as you can look at it, I mean, the past 3 weeks we're up almost 5 times the price than it was before. This is good. It's just ultimately digging the grave bigger. I mean, they can keep prolonging it. Obviously, they've made a pretty penny on the dip. From 72 to 50 right now, and they made a pretty penny on some of these other stocks that have these heavily short squeeze signals. But ultimately, they know that they have to cover all their shares. Margin calls are coming in. Hopefully, the SEC keeps providing more and more good news. If you do possibly have a chance, I would also recommend looking on Trade's page. I know he has some of those fast money interviews on Fox News with Charles Payne, and I know Matt Kors also has some really good interviews with I think her name was Charles Roth. No, I forget her specific name, but I don't know. She was on CNBC Fast Money the other day when Matt Kors when Trades was talking, and she had some very, very good real. I mean, she just seemed like she was for the apes, so he had her on today, and as well as the SEC attorney advocate for naked shorting also on. I don't know specifically the name, but I know that video is also posted on YouTube, so go check that out if you want to check out some just more proof. I mean, the SEC is really, really trying to be for us and trying to get us that honest market that we've always been wanting for years, because as we've painted this narrative, David versus Goliath, the retail investor has never been really won, and it's always been the market makers. Any end thoughts on this video, Gio? I mean, possibly just to sum up, overall your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna read that tweet I got from that Reddit page.
Oh, please do. Just put a little bit more, instill some faith in the people.
Yeah, so I pulled this tweet from the Reddit page a couple hours ago, and I'm gonna read it to you guys. So it says, all exits are closed for hedgies now that 98% of shares are in the hands of apes. It goes, they go on to say, with 98% of shares in the hands of apes, according to Adam Aaron, and over 100 million that are officially shorted shares, hedgies can only cover 2% before they need to buy back from apes. If apes don't sell, we are looking at a short to available share ratio of 10 to 1. That is, for every 10 shorted shares, they will only find 1 share to buy back. Volkswagen in 2008 had a ratio of 2 to 1 and still reached over 1,000 euros in price. So pretty much what they're saying is that if Volkswagen can hit 1,000 on a 2 to 1 ratio, imagine what AMC can hit on a 10 to 1.
Oh my God! And honestly, I love that tweet, and I love the way, I mean, we ultimately know the goal, we know the end game in it, and then I think that's a great way to end the show. Thank you, Gio, for joining me with Nick on the mic. Please, people, if you could possibly like, comment, subscribe. And also possibly share. I know I posted on my socials. If you could possibly share the content, and also if you could go follow sir.geo.trades, and as well as Nick_on_the_Mike, as we have been continuously by the day updating you on hourly information of AMC and as well as GME and some of these other stocks. As we get into this end of this week, just be patient. Ultimately, just be patient, because we do know the end game. Gio, any thoughts?
Just get ready for the MOASS, mother-fall short squeezes. It's coming. I mean, obviously, with what we know now, it's going to be a little bit more delayed. We all thought it was going to be this month in early July, but there's with what we're seeing now, it could probably be mid-July, maybe even early August, for all we know.
Yeah, we just got to be patient.
But it's coming.
Yep,
exactly.
Yep, we just got to be patient. All right, well, thank you for everybody listening to Nick on the mic, and thank you, Gio, as well as joining me. Gio, have a great day.
You too, Nick.